Welcome back, everybody, to Mario Superstar Baseball. In the last episode, we took down Peach, and we have also taken down Yoshi in a previous episode going through this run of challenge mode on easy. And as of right now, I'm not going to go through all the little details here, but of all the characters that we're using, since we're using Mario's team and focusing on getting his characters to Superstar status, since we're playing on the lowest difficulty, we're pretty much done with doing that for now. There's no other challenges that can be done at this point with his team. We would have to clear it on a higher level. We've also picked up a fair few of the items, but as you can clearly see, we're still missing some, and we've still got some captains to pick up. So, in this episode, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Let's start... Oh, do I want to start... let's start off the day wrong. Why not? We'll start off the day wrong. Hey, check it out, they're getting rid of some barrels. Go lend a hand. You can play this minigame 3 more times. For my money's worth, this is probably actually the hardest minigame. I'm putting an asterisk on that because the final one that's here is luck-based. So, on average, you'd probably have better luck there than doing this, but we'll see how it goes. Barrel Batter. This, much like Bomb-Omb Derby, ultimately for who you want to select, you're probably just going to want to select whoever you are most comfortable batting with. Power doesn't really matter, accuracy does to some extent, but you could do this with any character, obviously, so really just whoever you're most comfortable using. Target score is 1,000 points, much like with Bomb-Omb Derby, 1,500 for normal difficulty, and 2,000 for hard difficulty. Let's take a look at the rules. Hit the balls fired from the machine and smash barrels to score. You get to bat a total of 15 times, beat the target score to win. When the same colored barrels line up, you can smash them all with one hit, provided that the ball goes into one of those barrels that are lined up together. Your gauge builds up when you hit similar colored barrels. When it reaches the top, a bonus barrel appears. If you smash it, all the barrels explode and you get bonus at-bats. I think you get 2 extra ones. However, you only get 1 shot to smash it. And that's all the info they give you. So, my additional info for this is, first of all, much like Bomb-Omb Derby, the batter's box. You cannot move freely in the batter's box, so you don't have to worry about just missing the swing altogether unless you just swing way too early or late. But in terms of moving physically and not being able to make contact with the ball, that part of it is not possible to happen. The second and very important part of this is in order to hit the lower and upper rows, you need to either be pressing up or down on the analog stick. While you're swinging the bat. Pressing up will hit the lowest row of barrels, and hitting down on the stick, so these are inverted, will hit the highest row. I paused right there because I thought it was column, but no, it is row. There are 3 rows and several columns. In order to figure out which column you want to hit, you're going to either need to hit early, late, or on time, depending on where you're trying to aim. And bear in mind that if you pick a left-handed batter versus a right-handed batter, if you swing early with a left-handed batter, it will go one direction. If you swung early with a right-handed batter, it would go another. So this is a little bit of figuring out exactly where you're going to need to aim. However, the precision required for hitting these is not the easiest thing in the world to do, as you will almost assuredly see. Thankfully, the balls are not thrown super hard, at least, so you do have that going for you, but this is still not a particularly easy minigame to succeed in. Missed it just barely. That's not where I'm trying to go, but it's too late now. Yep. Yeah, that was easy difficulty. So, yeah, this is gonna be rough. Wow, if I'd gotten that configuration of barrels going in, I probably would have almost assuredly gotten it. There is obviously some luck involved in this, and before you say, like, oh no, the batting is all skill, that's not what I'm referring to. I was going to say that there is some luck involved in which color barrels are going to drop down on you, and of course, if you get a decent amount of barrels and you need blue and they drop a bunch of blue, then cool, that works out great for you. If you needed a bunch of blue and they drop yellows and reds, that's a little bit less helpful, oddly enough. So there is some luck involved in this. Whereas with the pitches in Bomb-Omb Derby, you can kind of hit them regardless. Here, you know, if you're out of luck with getting the wrong color, you're just out of luck with getting the wrong color. There we go. Oh, +3, and there you go. As you can see from the difference in me failing that versus winning that almost immediately, a very high percentage of your success or failure is going to be determined by if you can hit that explosive barrel. Since A, it gives you a ton of points for knocking down everything, and B, it also gives you additional swings, it's almost assuredly the deciding factor in if you're going to succeed or fail that mission. It probably was for the best that I ultimately started there, because I did want to point out that while you do lose your items for challenging Bowser Jr., whether you win or lose, or challenging other teams, whether you win or lose, you'll notice that for the minigames, even though that was a batting-related thing, that I did not lose my item. So that is one instance of, if you're worried about losing your item but you want to go play a minigame, no need to worry about that. It is taken care of. Now that we've shown off that, though, let's move on to working on taking out more of the teams. And we'll start with Monkey Man. We'll see how it goes in terms of how many of these characters I managed to beat in this episode. I imagine it will probably just be DK. I don't know if we'll also be able to get all of Wario's team in this episode, but we'll play it by ear. I'm gonna get rid of the Pianta and trade him in for Toad, and I think ultimately that will probably be the last switch I make. I might take out Monty Mole, but I do want to keep roughly half the team that we started with initially, and we've got 5 out of 9 here, so since 9's obviously not evenly divisible, there's only so much we can do. But I don't want it to be like, yeah, this is Mario's team that cleared this stage, and it's got, like, Mario, Luigi, and that's basically it. There's nobody else there. I do want it to at least look like some semblance of Mario's team, same with everybody else that we'll be using in the future. That might change as we go to higher difficulties, because obviously you want your ideal team going forward at higher difficulties. You can afford to not have, like, your perfect all-star team on Mushroom or Flower or even Star, but as you get to higher difficulties, of course, that luxury kind of goes out the window, as it were. Speaking of going out the window, let's just hit this ball right over the fence, shall we? Yeah, I didn't think so. As you can see, we're kind of just going with nice little singles here. And as you just saw, Paragoomba might have just taken a little hit to the head there. A little bonk to the noggin, but I'm sure he'll be fine. It's no big deal. We'll talk about the stage hazards once I am the person that's pitching, because it's obviously going to be a little bit easier for me to focus on my pitching rather than my batting, where I'm actively trying to score. Thank you for not actively just diving into somebody's glove like that ability usually does. It could be my imagination, but I'm pretty sure it's not with how often I use both Yoshi's and Birdo's special. Birdo's does just, on average, tend to go farther, and it does not have anything to do with whether you charge your swing or not. It's just hers typically tends to go to outfield, and Yoshi's tends to stay, at least for the time that it hits the ground, in field, which is probably more of an issue as there's 4 people that can potentially catch the ball as opposed to 3. So on average, Birdo's is probably better for that reason, but I'm sure you'll get various things. Even though Birdo's got a pretty high stat in batting, and I personally think that she's a pretty good batter, I definitely know plenty of people that do not like Birdo for batting. They think overall that she is very bad. So even though I've talked about characters in bios, ones that I think are good, bad, and in between, bear in mind, my opinions will obviously differ from other people. Just because I think that they're good does not mean other people will, and vice versa. Just because I think they're bad doesn't mean other people think they will. So, just realize that with a grain of salt. I'm not picking on anybody here. I've not had that problem in the comments at all, thankfully. But just a little thing to bear in mind that if you have a character that you're a fan of that I'm not too big a fan of, then that might be why, and it might be because I just haven't used them enough. And if you've got a character that you're not a big fan of that I use quite a bit and I like, it might be because I've had more practice with them and kind of know how to use that character, so. Toad seemed to be one in particular that I was seeing a lot of mixed reviews on when I was looking at, like, character reviews, how to get them to Superstar, that type of thing. Very mixed opinions on Toad. He was either loved or hated. Very divisive, apparently, which is a bit odd. I thought he was, like, largely pretty liked there. The juke! Should have thrown it to first, you could have gotten an out there. But you didn't. You know, the funny thing is I said we probably wouldn't get to Wario in this episode, and there's a better than even chance we might be seeing a Mercy Rule, as it is currently 9-0, and we still have an additional inning, even if I don't manage to score in these next couple runs. If that had not had the, that hadn't had the favorability with the buddy system right there, that probably would have been a run. Nice. I probably shouldn't have gone for that, but I did, so oops. And that's, well, no, that's actually not gonna be an out. Well, this will give us a little bit of a buffer, at least, with another run. That should have been an out as well. Mission, get a hit. You know what? Honestly, it might not really matter at this point. We might be seeing Mercy Rule, and that was barely a fair ball, but we'll take it. I did want to mention something that was in the comments. I'm actually going to pause really quickly and look it up, as I should have done before I started, but I didn't do that, so that's my mistake. Because somebody did want to mention something, and as we just had two very close plays there, I figured it was the optimal time to talk about it. And that was the concept of one of the abilities that I talked about in the last episode. I did want to give credit to, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Xavier Munoz 11, talking about the body check ability, which is the ability where if there is going to be a quote-unquote close play between somebody running for a base and the ball about to get sent to that exact same base, that there was the potential for that the person that's on the base to just get knocked down, and that person will automatically advance to the base, score, whatever the case may be. Whoa, hey there, let's not get a little overzealous there. As it turns out, and I did look this up, the body check ability is not random. You can actually press B, which is your dashing, which I'm normally doing anyway. I thought for sure he was going to get hit by that. And that will make it so where that effect activates. The timing on the actual window of when the game will register that close play is going to occur is still a little bit weird, but that was both the case for Super Sluggers and this game, so that's where I figured the randomness came in, but it turns out that was not the case. Alright, Donkey Kong's little stadium here. We should probably talk about it because there's a better than even chance that this is going to end after only one inning. For my money's worth, even though I'm not big on Donkey Kong's team, this is honestly my favorite arena because of the really stupid stage hazards. First and foremost, sort of between the outfield and infield, even though it's basically in the outfield, you can see that river running in the background with those clap traps. As you saw with me hitting one of the clap traps in the first hit of the game with Mario, should you hit a claptrap with the ball, then you will get a team star. The claptraps can also attach onto fielders and I believe slow them down very, very slightly. But if they get hit by one of the barrels, then that will knock both the claptrap off of them and obviously stun the player. With the barrels flying around, as you saw, they tend to, on average with the cannons, target where the ball is when firing, so oftentimes they can miss the outfielders. But as you've seen, if somebody gets hit with one of those, needless to say, it stuns them for a pretty good amount of time, which is not terribly too surprising. These barrels were in Super Sluggers, but if I recall correctly, it's only in Super Sluggers, and I could be wrong about that, we'll see an annotation if that's the case, that the ball will actually hit the barrel. If it hits the barrel itself, it will change the direction of the ball. I don't think that's the case in Mario Superstar Baseball, but in Super Sluggers it is. Could be wrong about that, but again, there's an annotation on screen if I'm wrong.
Yahoo for me!
But what I'm not wrong about is we've recruited everybody off of Donkey Kong's team. As you can see on the bottom, everyone joined due to the Mercy Rule. And Yoshi also got Win MVP, and Birdo got, I assume, Drive and Run. Yep. Very nice. Well, that's gonna make this go by a little bit faster, but no worries because we've still got one more team to tackle here, which is Wario. What? A ball game against Bowser? Really? I see. But you had a luck, bub. Too bad for you. Some kind of road slide blocked away into a stadium. Besides, what the heck is that idiot thinking, sending out the challenge? What a chump. Anyway, now that you're here, let's play. Bring it on, Mario. My team's the greatest. I spent a ton for one thing. Plus, my charisma's just unstoppable. I apologize in advance. I cannot do a good Wario voice. But I do love Wario because of how stupid and funny he is. He's just so hammy. I think we'll keep the team we've got here. I'm honestly kind of fine keeping as it is. And as you can see here are all the characters we can recruit with Waluigi, Boo, Wario, King Boo, Petey Piranha, and Magic Koopa. I didn't talk about who you could recruit on Donkey Kong's team, but for the record, it's Goomba, Paragoomba, Koopa, Paratroopa, Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Donkey Kong himself. So it's actually got the most characters, I think, to recruit in terms of number on that team, because there's not a lot of duplicates. There's some, but not a lot. But now that we beat up Donkey Kong, let's go take on Wario. We get to talk about his stage. Of course, I'll be at bat first, so we'll talk about that when we get back around to my opportunity to pitch here. Hopefully Wario will fare a little bit better than Donkey Kong did. This is probably the world's smallest / lamest strategy, but it is something I did think about between recording this episode and the previous one, episode 4. And that is, if there is a stadium that you're just really not a big fan of, like at all, for whatever reason, you just don't like it, it might be worth your while to actually select that team captain going into challenge mode, provided that you don't really have one push or pull one way or the other, or you're playing on a low difficulty and it doesn't really matter to you what captain you pick. Because by picking that captain, other than fighting Bowser Jr. in the area where he would potentially be, that can make you, on that stadium, you're not going to be challenging yourself. So if you don't like Wario's stadium, for example, then you could pick Wario's team and you would never have a challenge on there, again, other than Bowser Jr.'s. So that is one potential strategy you could do. Like I said, this is not exactly a, what I would call amazing, super high-intense skill strategy. This is not a 9,000 IQ play, as they would say. But if it's your, first time starting out and you realized, hey, I really don't like this stadium, that would be one potential way to avoid it for the time being. Ideally, of course, the best way to get better on any stage or with any character is to play on that stage or play with that character, of course. I think everybody probably already knew that, but it is something I did want to bring up. That might go into the little... Nope. I guess not. Well, I don't think we're going to score another 10 runs without getting a single out, especially not if I do something like that. But that's alright. We get to talk about Wario's stage and all the different little elements that come into play here. We've already seen one of them occur, which is those little wind vanes that are on, not quite outside of the foul lines, they are inside, but they're on the left and right both. Yeah, well, that should be fine to catch. Nice. Should the ball get within one of those, as you've seen, the wind turbine or the little thing will spin it around and around, and the ball is still live after this transition has occurred. So this can throw it, of course, to a player that can catch it for an out. This can throw it outside of the foul lines. This could keep it away from the players. There's potential for a lot to happen. Same with the piranha plants. Ultimately, it seems like the direction that it goes in is roughly random. Much like missions to get the player out, apparently, since we're 2 for 2 on these. Both of the high technique characters in this particular team comp as well. Typically, Waluigi and Boo are going to be your ideal pitchers if you did pick Wario's team. The other things, of course, as you've probably already seen on the ground, are the team stars, which if you run over that with a ball, you get a team star. You probably could have surmised that. Let's see if we can get a hit here. Bring it on, Wario. Bring it on. What you going to do? That was not a great hit, but it might, still go through, because it was in that weird kind of location where they couldn't determine which fielder should go after it. If they had committed one way or the other, it probably would have resulted in an out, but it did not. The other, as you can see, since I just hit the ball kind of over in that direction, let's see if I can get another view of it here, are the chain chomps. If you get too close to the chain chomps, and they're awake, they will bite you, and they will stun your characters. They can also knock the ball back into play, because the ball is still live if it hits a Chain Chomp, or if a Chain Chomp attacks it. And since they are outside of the foul lines, this can occur decently frequently. Typically, one Chain Chomp will be awake and one will be asleep. As you can see, they're both on either side of the foul lines. Sometimes they're both awake, sometimes they're both asleep. Of course, hitting it will wake it up. But it is a potential for something that would have been a very near miss in going outside of the foul lines to potentially stay inside the foul lines instead. Whether that's a blessing or a curse ultimately depends on the fielders and how they perform. And of course, if they get hit by the Chain Chomp or not. So that's essentially Wario Stage, much like with several other stages we've seen with both Mario's and with Yoshi's. The walls for the stadium are largely pretty low here for both his and for Donkey Kong's, so home runs are not too terribly hard to get here. Like I said, really the only ones that have pretty high walls are Peach's and Bowser's stadiums. Of course, as I've been playing through, I've been doing a little bit more research, and I have seen that clamber, the ability to let you climb on walls, does seem to, and I use this term loosely, work on any arena that's basically not Yoshi's or, I want to say it was actually Wario's. There's one part of the back fence in Donkey Kong's area that's a little bit higher than the others, so you can climb on that one small section of wall. Again, that's extremely niche in terms of actually needing to do it, but sure, you could do it. And that the wall for Wario Stage is just barely high enough to clamber on. The other thing, though, about that is I would just recommend just doing a jump and catch, or if your character's got a high jump, that's going to be more effective than clamber will be, but that goes back to each his own on what characters work and what characters don't for you. Alright, let's see if we can get a strikeout here. Nope. We can't. We can just do that instead. Doing a sliding catch to get the ball like that, even if you're not successful, if the ball would have otherwise rolled past you and you still managed to get it to first for the out before that person gets there, as you just saw, will still give you a big play. So this is one option if you're going for the Superstar challenge on a character of get a big play. This is one way to do it. You don't necessarily have to put them in the outfield. Infield also has the opportunity to do this as well. It just kind of depends. But now that we've taken care of that and we're basically just finishing off the game here, hopefully you all have been doing well and enjoying the project thus far. Hopefully you'll be enjoying the next ones. I should have gone for the body check. Wouldn't have gotten the Superstar thing for it, but could have showed it off. But hopefully you'll all also be enjoying, by the time that this goes up, we'll have started the multiplayer project that's going on my Twitch, and hopefully by now would also be up on the archive page, depending on when this episode goes up, which is, I don't need to worry about hiding what it is anymore. It is Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver for the Nintendo DS. Much like we did with Fire Red and Leaf Green in showing off how Gen 1 works, which I get it, it's a hybrid, but so is Heart Gold and Soul Silver. We'll be doing both games at the same time. Icarus will have choice of which of the two games she wants to play. I will get choice on which of the starters I want first. And we'll be going through the game. She'll be playing it for the first time. I'll be playing it. I've been practicing it, of course, at this current point in time. But in terms of doing a full playthrough, the last time I did that was when Heart Gold and Soul Silver was new, because it is a very big game. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've got the overlays ready. I've got at least my team sort of picked out / chosen. So I know what I'll be doing there going forward. So it'll be a good time. It'll be a lot of fun. And that is the ball game. Though we will need to re-challenge Wario, as we did not mercy his team. We did get a couple characters recruited, though. I lost to Mario! Mario of all people! Oh boy, my belly is aching up a storm right now. I wonder if, could it be that green mushroom I ate? No! Yar, Mario, you tricked me into chowing down on that toadstool. Yep, I sure did. And now, because we've beaten every team at least once, the powers of magical lightning dictate we can go challenge Bowser. Oh, I thought we also got Waluigi. I guess we didn't. Well, we got Boo. We got a little ghost friend. Everybody likes him. He's a good boy. He's a very good boy. But I do think we've got enough time to very quickly, first and foremost, go here and grab King Banana for Man K-Man. Oh wait, that's from Earthbound. Never mind. Oh, which one do I want to do? I guess we'll do Piranha Panic here. Just enough to very quickly go ahead and grab Diddy Kong's as well as we finish out the episode. But as we're playing through Piranha Panic, now would actually be a very good time for me to get my timer set up, and we can talk about our character of the day, who we've seen a little bit of, but we can talk about Noki. How does Noki stack up on Mario's team? Well, let's roll the bio and find out.
When discussing characters with palette swaps, I'll be organizing them like I do above, so B, G, and R mean blue, green, and red. We good? Cool. Noki's a bit of an outlier for me. I never really know what to think of them. They seem like a slightly better Monty Mole. They all feel like they bat a bit better, but that's likely just because they have more grace in what's considered a good swing. Pitching-wise, they're about on level with Monty Mole, and if you're not using Mario or Luigi, the pitching mound isn't a terrible place for them in my opinion. They won't throw super hard like the Piantas, but they do seem to have more control on curving the ball as a result. Noki will make mistakes while fielding, and I have seen it happen, but you ultimately might want to put at least one of the three in the outfield, just to have that synergy when they're throwing back infield. Like most of the speed characters, Noki can be used to bunt and steal bases with better odds of successfully pulling it off with no outs. They're the fragile speedsters that have the slow, heavy-hitter counterparts with the Piantas. When it comes to swapping them out, you'll either prefer the Piantas over the Nokis, or vice versa, and upon getting better characters, one of these three will likely be the one to go first. Up to you, who that is.
That was not exactly an optimal run of that game, but it was still enough to win, and that's the important thing. Oh well. Sometimes these things happen, you know? But it's fine. We have the coins necessary to get Diddy Kong's special item, so let's do that and end off the episode. It feels like we just breezed by this one. I was going to talk about these items in a little bit more detail, but of course we can save that for another time. Of course, there's also only one character left on Mario's team to talk about in the next episode, which is the Pianta. I don't think we'll need to go another episode for this run of Challenge Mode. I think we'll be good either way. But should there be any possibility... I'm going to go ahead and challenge Bowser Jr. since we're here. But should that ever happen, where there's a case of we get through all the bios before we clear Challenge Mode with a character... We'll mostly just spend that time just talking about additional small little details. It can be about minigames, it can be about items. If there's anything in particular y'all want me to talk about, just let me know. We kind of did that in one episode, talking about all the different character abilities, so expect that kind of thing going forward, should that be something that comes up. You can do it, Monty Mole. That was a very fortunate error, or that would have resulted in a draw. Congrats, Monty Mole. You did it. Quick note about Bowser Jr. I think I already talked about this before. As it's only a half-inning game, as you've already noticed, there is no MVP status for that, so just bear in mind if you're trying to get a character MVP that you cannot do it there. Regardless, that looks to me like an episode. Thank you all for watching, and next time on Mario Superstar Baseball, we'll go ahead and keep taking on Wario till we completely clear out his team. We'll show off the last minigame and what that unlocks, and then we'll go take on Bowser. See you guys then. Later.